Steven, big things coming in 2024. Breaking news. Big things coming. Big things coming in 2024. Huge news. Huge news.
I wish I had one of those horn things that we used to have on New Year's, because then I'd be like, big things coming in 2024, Steven. We don't actually say that. We keep going and going and going like the Energizer Bunny. Did you know that the Energizer Bunny in Europe is Duracell, and here it's the other one?
Energizer.
Here it's Energizer, but overseas it's Duracell.
Really?
It's like reversed. I think they like fucked with each other. They went for different something. I can't figure out these headphones. I'm using I can't hear any.
Can you hear me? Hello, hello. Jared is using headphones for the first time, and it's freaking him out.
Well, yeah, because I can't. They're not like pass through. I had an issue with these in-ear monitors that I used, and I thought maybe it was my ear. Then I went and I cleaned out the schmutz from the thing, and it ended up not being better.
And made it worse.
Whatever I did made it worse. Anyway, Happy New Year, everybody.
Happy New Year, 2024.
Yeah, I'm not a New Year type person. I just went to a friend's house until like 11 o'clock, and then we went back to my house and we watched a TV show, and at 11:58 put on the ball dropping and then turned that off because that is so stupid. The Ryan Seacrest stuff is so
cheesy.
It's so fake. Like they used to have Liza Koshy on there. I guess she was
last year.
She was the last couple of years, but now you have people that are like, Ryan, this is the center of the universe right now. This is amazing. This is what everybody's been waiting for. It's like, could you be any fucking more fake?
I like the CNN Andy Cohen and Anderson Cooper broadcast. Just getting drunk the whole time.
Yeah, I mean, why not? But I just think anything
they
with
keep
the
it real
ball
too.
dropping is
it's
stupid.
Funny.
Is it?
It is, yeah.
I don't watch any of it because I don't care. Did you do anything New Year's?
We went to a friend's in the morning, stayed till about 2 or 3, and then we went to my parents' house and just did like a fake ball drop at 8 o'clock for the kids, and then we stayed till like 10 o'clock and went home and watched the rest until the real.
No, that's worse
ball
than
drop.
telling them that Santa is real, is doing a
Their
fake ball drop.
bedtime is like 8:30. They're not going to stay up till midnight when they're like 4 years old.
Screw you, kids. You don't get to stay up for New Year's. You don't get to celebrate it with a fake ball drop. It's not real.
Okay.
You fake kids. That's what I would say. Maybe my parents used to do that before they went out for New Year's.
I was going to say, I bet you did that as a kid.
But it was like 1985, Steven. It was a whole different.
Or it was the opposite. You stayed up till like 3 a.m.
Yeah, I don't remember what we actually stayed up for.
Did you kiss your friend at midnight during the ball drop?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, you did it wrong, man. Did it wrong.
Well, who cares? I don't need to buy into the commercialized bullshit of kissing someone at midnight and singing, "May all your tension be relieved
Old
from a
sign.
hand job.
Whoa,
May all your tension be relieved on this New Year's Eve." Holy fuck, that was a good song.
This is a great start to the new year.
It was. I mean, no, we were watching a show when that happened.
You didn't actually witness the ball drop?
No, we did. We turned it off for 2 minutes to watch the ball drop.
Could you imagine getting there at sunrise and waiting all day, not moving at all, having to go to the bathroom, and all for what, a giant ball to drop in front of you while you're freezing?
Wait, you didn't think Megan Thee Stallion, Miss Fitness America, was a great performance?
I don't think I caught hers, actually.
Holy shit, was that bad?
Was it?
Oh my God, it's terrible music.
I remember vividly the LL Cool J one.
Okay, and who was this sauce guy, the fat white guy?
Jelly Roll.
Who the fuck is Jelly Roll?
He's not my cup of tea, but I've
is
heard
he a
his
rapper?
name. Something like that.
Wait,
I don't know.
Is he in that show that I watched? Beef? No, not Beef. Whatever that cooking show was on AMC that I watched. The Bear. Was he in The Bear?
No idea. You're asking the wrong person.
Who is Jelly Roll? Who is Jelly Roll?
Jason Bradley DeFord. He's an American rapper, singer, and songwriter from Tennessee.
Really? I don't know Jelly Roll. He might be country singer.
Include hits like Son of a Sinner and Need a Favor.
All right, whatever. I don't know who Jelly Roll was, but I was sitting there. I'm like, am I old now that I don't know? Like, and that one girl who was on Ryan Seacrest's thing, I looked her up. She had like 32 million Instagram followers. I'm like,
all of
who
the
is
pop
this?
artists I don't know at all. And even when I worked for Q102, a pop station, a top 40 station in Philly, I didn't know half of the people performing at Jingle Ball each year.
Really?
Totally out of it when it comes to pop artists.
But you did know Carly Rae Jepsen, though.
I did. Call me maybe.
Steven still thinks she really liked him and he had a chance.
I swear, dude, I think there was a chance. She was definitely hitting on me when she came in for a studio session. This is like weeks after that came out.
You
She
should
was still
have
fresh.
slipped her something. You should have been like, here's my number. Call me maybe. Yeah, that's what I would do. I'd be like, sup, girl.
Or she might have just been staring at me the whole time because I had a camera in her face.
And maybe you made her feel awkward. And that's just like Jelly Roll.
Highly possible.
So anyway, tell me about your moving on. New Year's is like, I'm not a big New Year's person. I don't really give a shit. I don't do resolutions. I don't do bullshit like that.
Kind of the same, yeah.
Roll over. Let's go. Let's get to work. I want to work. And so I want to work. What you did? You finally did your family photo?
I did. Well, first, before that, my little staycation vacation, I happened to be sick pretty much the entire time, which sucked.
Nice.
Murphy's Law, getting sick right before vacation. I think you called me the one time to check on like the 24 to 105 video, and you're like, you sound terrible. I'm like, yeah, I'm pretty under the weather right now.
And I said you have a cold. I can hear it.
Yeah, I was so congested the entire... I just got over it, I feel like, this past weekend as my vacation was ending. But yeah, I finally took the family photo, actually New Year's Eve, because we were going to get dressed up anyway. We're like, might as well just take it right now. We're all done up, ready to go out. I tried to recreate what I took in 2019, which was just a simple family photo in front of the Christmas tree. We had Chip at the time. He was maybe 4 months old, 3 months old, so a little tiny puppy. I took out the R5. I shot with the 85 1.2, the de-smoothing lens, actually, which I really don't notice a difference at all with that. 1/125th, f1.2, ISO 100. Tried to get on the same plane as the camera, shooting super wide open because we're right up against the background, wanted some depth, and busted out all my old speed lights, man. My 580 EX2s, we're talking, they're probably 14 years old now at this point. Still crush. Bunch of umbrellas, triggered the actual camera via the Canon Connect app, basically set a timer, hit it, drop it between my legs, try and pose for the photo. And the hardest part was trying to get Hannah, my 4-month-old newborn, to look at the camera. I couldn't get her to look no matter what. Every time we had a key light in front of us, a 65-inch umbrella with a speed light behind it. And then I had a fill light to the left of me, which was like a 45-inch umbrella. And every time it would pop, she would just go right to the light. She would look directly at the light every single time. So the hard part was trying to get her to look. And eventually we put Nicole's phone on the actual camera to try and play squeaky sounds, kid sounds, that kind of stuff. Miss Rachel, something to make her look. But that was the hardest part.
I can't stand Miss Rachel. I it's like, and I hope she's making good money. I really do, because she's getting hundreds of millions of views. But I don't know if, anyway, whatever. Keep talking about your photo that I'm going to throw in the trash when you send it to me.
Well, I'm not sending it out because we already sent out our initial Christmas cards of just Hannah with Santa because I was too late on taking the photo. So it was just more for us, more for the family to get a nice picture when Hannah was this young. It's her first Christmas. And I wanted to ask you, I just put it on Dropbox if you want to download it, the full res photo. If you notice anything off with that picture.
Your face?
Good one.
So I pulled up Steven's Christmas photo. It looks like he did some, he looks like he used X3 from Fropack 4.
I did use a slight face enhance from Fropack 4, yes.
It
Whiten
looks
the
like
teeth,
that.
smooth the skin.
I could see the eyes, your wife's eyes. You brought up her left eye a little bit.
Actually, I didn't really adjust the eyes. That's just the fill light. And I used a combination of presets. I use Charmin from Fropack 2 and Coppertone from Fropack 4, which is my personal all-time favorite. Cinnamon Toast Crunch is up there too, I think from Fropack 2 or 3, I can't recall. But there's so many good presets that we just never really promote, and I wish people knew about them. We really only talk about Skittles. We hammer that home, but there are a lot of them that I personally use all the time. And the nice thing is you can mix and match, do whatever you want. Like I use the colors from Charmin mixed with the tone curve and the calibration of Coppertone and put them together. And you can even put the adaptive presets on top of that. Not trying to plug here, but this is literally how I edited the photo. I do actually use our presets.
I think he used fake bokeh, Steven.
Okay, so that's one thing I did.
Is Chip's penis out?
It's probably a nice red rocket, I'm sure. No, I don't know.
No, I don't know, dude. What What other thing is in this?
Well, going back to Hannah not looking at the camera, I did a complete head swap with another photo.
Delete, cheated, goodbye.
Well, I wanted to see if you would notice.
Well, no, I didn't notice, but it's cheating. So
We tried for maybe 30, 45 minutes, something like that. And she just would not look at the camera no matter what. And obviously, I was taking the photo myself. We were all in front of the camera. No one was behind. Ironically, Chip looked at the camera the entire time. He was looking right at it. I don't know why, but he's usually the hard one to get to look at the camera. Yeah, exactly. This time around, it was Hannah. She's 4 months old. She doesn't know any better. I, no matter what, could not get her to look. So I eventually got behind the camera, started jingling a bunch of stuff, some of her toys, stuff like that. Got her to look. Nicole stayed in the same position, took a few photos of her smiling at me, and then went in Photoshop, swapped out the head. It's already to scale because she didn't move at all. The spot is exactly the same. The only thing is, instead of her looking profile, and I now have her looking straight at the camera, smiling. And nobody knows. Now everybody knows, but if you see the before and after, it's a make or break with the photo because she's not even looking in the other ones.
yeah, I just can't wait for you to send me one.
It's going right in the trash.
Right in the shredder. You should print it and put it right in a shredder. You should just print it right in a shredder and just call it a day.
It's one of the first times I've done something like that in terms of like really manipulating the photo. And I wanted to see if I did it good enough where you wouldn't really notice. And nobody noticed, at least as far as I know.
No one's going to know. They'll never know.
No one's going to know. They're going to know. No one's going to know. So that was my fun Christmas photo fiasco. And next year we'll probably do the same, but she'll be a little older and running around. So that'll be even more fun. Anyway, if you haven't seen the photo that we're talking about, it is on my Instagram, S_ECKERT, S_Eckert. And you can see it in all of its low-res glory.
Said a really good comment came in. A nice someone left a nice on the text line, which is 313-710-9729. You could still text us. What did the text say? And I'm giving you permission to read it.
Why do I have to read these texts?
You read it. You're the reader of texts.
It said, I'm now watching your Frono's photos fix when Dan did it. I don't know why I thought he was some fat guy, but he looks like a crackhead. I mean that in the nicest way.
I mean, it's not far off.
Well, they're saying this because Dan is like the skinniest human being alive.
You can see his ribs.
You literally can see everything.
No, he's like, I've got a 6-pack. I'm like, that's because you have no meat on your bones, bro.
I know.
You're not me, bro. Anyway,
I wanted to ask you, what did you do during your break?
I kept working. I came over to the studio. We cleaned up the entire basement, organized the basement area at the studio, got all the Fun to Photographer stuff where it went, got all the shelves placed, got all the stuff off the floor, nice and organized, cleaned up the upstairs, my area floor, didn't touch anything upstairs where you are working.
I actually did a lot of that too at my own house, a lot of deep cleaning and organizing. And I took a lot of pictures for once, a lot of just pictures of the family. I usually am doing it for work and not so much around the house. And this time around, I'm like, a lot of mobile photography stuff, actually. A lot of stuff on the phone. Mm-hmm.
I hate the stuff on the phone. It looks terrible.
Yeah, but I think if you do it right, like if you shoot RAW in the Lightroom app and then edit with something like FroPack 4, not this is a plug, they look pretty solid. Unless you're shooting high ISO, the phone looks not bad. Like I posted a picture of Hannah when she turned 4 months old and just said happy 4 months old and whatever. I had people reaching out to me saying like, that looks great. Did you shoot that with the 51.2? Was that with the R5? Blah, blah, blah. And nobody knew it was with the phone because it looks pretty good. If you blow it up on the computer, it's a different story. But
well, that's the thing is the phone can look good, but as soon as you take it beyond the 6-inch or whatever size screen, you then start to notice the imperfections. But it's fine for that. It was funny. My friend and I, we took a walk. We walked 2.5 miles one way and then had to walk 2.5 miles back. We walked to the Ben Franklin Bridge, next to Cherry Street Pier, where you can go and sit. We sat down at the end and we had the 2 dogs and we were sitting. And there were these people that were doing photos right when we got up there. And then this one person came up to us and was like, hi, I took a photo of you two. Would you like me to airdrop it? And I was like, wait a second. That's what I do.
Do you know who I am?
It's like, that's what I do. So then the guy airdropped me the photo of the 2 of us sitting there.
That's
and
very nice.
Pulled it up on my phone and was like, what is this shit? You call this a photo? What the fuck angle
I'm going to give
this?
you a critique even though you didn't ask for it.
This is fucking bullshit. You need to learn how to take a photo. God damn it. No, it was
and at
it was
the end
nice.
of the day, the fundamentals still matter. Like, you still need good light. Like, I had Hannah, I opened all the blinds, had a shit ton of light coming in. I still shot her composed correctly. I didn't just take it willy-nilly with my phone, just whatever. I still tried to make it look like an actual photograph and not a snapshot. That's where it matters. That's where you can...
Of course, Stephen. But yeah, back to me, back to talking about me, because you just totally geared back to you.
Sorry, I actually had a chance to talk for once.
Yeah, I've let you talk. You've used up more than 90% of your talking time in this podcast.
Damn.
It's not really true. But no, we were sitting there, and that person came up, and that was kind of fun, because usually I'm the one that does that. And is it the greatest thing ever since sliced bread? No, but it's a candid moment, and it's nice to have. It's nice that someone thought about it and did it and didn't know who I was, which is cool.
So was it from the back then?
Yeah, it was from behind. So you got the two dogs, and you got us sitting there in our yellow jackets. But yeah, so this episode, there's not a lot of gear stuff to talk about. CES is next week. That's where you're going to see potentially new products from people. I don't know that it's big for photography anymore, so we'll get into that a little bit. I want to talk a little bit about YouTube channels stopping. There's a bunch of YouTube channels that have said that they're calling it quits recently. I do want to go into a little bit more detail of something I talked about at the end of the year about the production that I'm now working on as an executive producer and what all of that actually means. And cooking with Jared. Let's. Oh, before we get to cooking with Jared, I do have a note to talk about the Employee of the Year being announced. This is breaking news right now. The Employee of the Year. This was a tough decision to make here as a boss.
Fingers crossed
for 2023.
Come on.
And I'm going to announce it right now that the Employee of the Year for 2023.
Is it me?
After much deliberation,
is it me?
Is not Dan.
Yes,
it's not Dan.
All right, one out.
And the runner-up, which means that the person that is not announced right now is the Employee of the Year. The runner-up is after this break.
Insert like American Idol break music.
Is Steven, which means Jared is the Employee of the Year for 2023.
What the?
No, this is good news. This is good news. Employee of the Year for 2023.
We have to have the plaques on the wall of just Employee of the Year for the past 10 years and just be Jared.
I'm thinking of doing it with some Instax film that I have here. And we should just, I should just switch t-shirts or go back and find old photos from each year and do Employee of the Year for 2010, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23.
It needs to be next to the framed conjoined triangles of success poster.
Yeah. The conjoined triangles of success is still one of the best things ever.
So a square.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, because when we were cleaning the basement, we have the whiteboard down there, and it still says D2F on it. And my friend, I was like, do you know what this? I'm like, do you know what this is? She's like, no. I'm like, well, we use this in the background of a sponsored video. And then I showed her the Silicon Valley episode. If you want to see this section, it's look up Silicon Valley mean jerk or something, and it comes up.
I just started watching it again, by the way, because you can blow through. They're like 30-minute episodes and like 8 or 10 episodes a season. So I finished season 1 already.
Liquid shrimp,
so good.
That's all I have to say. It is a
always
funny
blue, always
show.
Blue, always blue.
I do like the ending. I think that was kind of good.
The documentary.
I mean, it's one of those things that you always hope for the best, but it's like never gonna happen.
Well, see, because I always loved Entourage growing up, and it's the opposite, where Entourage always ended perfectly. It always worked out for them, where Silicon Valley was always the opposite. It never worked out for them at the end.
Yep. All right, so now that the Employee of the Year is out of the way, let's move on to Cooking with Jared. I actually filmed Cooking with Jared, and by filmed, my friend filmed it. She has FX3s, 2 of those. We used an A9 III. The A9 III has just a static camera to get some sizzle reel of my sizzling of the oil.
I see what you did there.
That's right. Did you get to watch any of the edit yet?
I watched the first 5 minutes. I haven't watched.
You need to go through and make some notes. She's looking for your notes.
You watched it at 2x and gave notes, and I'm like, hold on, you got to watch it at 1x to give proper notes. You can't really see cuts and edits and stuff like that at 2x.
I liked it at 2x more than 1x.
Of course. That's what I mean. You don't see the imperfections when it's 2x versus 1. Like every export that we do, every time I watch Dan's work, I always watch it at normal speed. As painful as it is, I watch it at 1x.
You don't watch it at 25% the quality so that you can't tell what's out of focus like Dan?
Dan edits with proxies, and on top of that, instead of it being the high-res proxy, it's the low-res proxy at 25% resolution. So
Which
it's
is
just a blurry mess that he's editing with.
He shouldn't be doing
I'm like,
that.
Dan, you have a M1 Max Studio, whatever it is. Like, you don't even need a proxy at this point. You can just scrub through native footage. But he still chooses to do that, and on top of that, have his screen at like 25% brightness.
If that. But anyway, the Cooking with Jared video, I really like. I like what my friend did. I like what she edited. Nice. I like what she shot. It was a fun little dance. I will say that the setting up was not the fun little dance, because you know how it is for me. I need to be the guy that shows up 2 hours after setup started and is finished. That I can just show up, turn on the camera, and film because I'm that good.
I've learned a long time ago that it's best to let you do your thing. When everything's good to go, that's when I call you in. Because if not, if you're waiting, it's not fun.
No, it's not, because I'm just like, what is this? Why am I waiting? Why can't we just be ready to go? Why aren't we done yet?
Everything. That's one thing. And two, you're just super antsy and you just want to get started. So I'll have even your shirt ready for you. I've got, the mic pack, like everything. So when you come in, we're pretty much ready to rock. Now, we also do a lot of pre-production with like lens reviews and stuff where we'll go over the actual pictures and the specs and the notes and what we're going to talk about. But in terms of the setup on set, I wait until it's completely ready to bring you in. But it took a while to figure that out.
Well, I mean, and this was a thing. We're shooting at my house, and she was shooting in log, and I don't have blinds that block all of the light, so that changed what the exposures
super
were.
sensitive in log, yeah.
But when you see the final product, I think it's really good. It's really fun. I think I'm really good on camera, to be honest with you.
My only thing, and I said this yesterday to you, was just the length of it. I just get a little concerned about 30 minutes about how to cook fried chicken.
It's less.
I'm just saying, if you're trying to get views outside of the Frono's Photo world, or if you just don't care, I don't know what the point of this video is going to be.
I don't agree about the length thing. I just don't. I don't think someone's clicking on, like, they're going to start it, they're going to watch it, and if they enjoy it, they're going to keep watching it.
But the point is them initially clicking on them in the first place. If they see a video that's 2 minutes long, how to cook chicken, versus a 30-minute video, you think they're going to go for the 30-minute video?
Yeah, but Steven, I don't buy into that bullshit. We don't buy into, let's make a short and a reel because we just want to get people who want a 2-minute video. I don't want those people to sit there and not pay attention to the video. The video is
the difference
enjoyable.
Here is we're doing something completely different. It's a cooking video.
Who cares? Who cares? Right. It's going to be whatever it's going to be. I don't fucking care how many views it gets. That's not what it's about. It's about, I said I would make this video and I want to put it out. I'm thinking of a title like cooking, photographer cooks fried chicken, or just fried chicken, right? Like how to make fried chicken is something that someone could watch. And the reason that it's 8 extra minutes long, or 6.5 minutes extra long, is because I run the entire original video at the very end for Cooking with Jared that people probably didn't see back in the day. And I made that decision to put that at the end. So if people don't watch it, they don't watch it. I think the video is enjoyable to watch. I think it's fun. I think you can watch how I do it. I think there's funny shit that happens. And that's why I don't care. Yes, 12 to 15 minutes could be better. But I don't know. She could cut stuff, I'm sure.
Hey, and no pun intended, but trim the fat is my thing.
There are places to cut, but she left certain things in there just to see what I wanted or didn't want.
Yeah. And usually Dan or I will make that executive decision behind the scenes of what should be cut out or what shouldn't be cut out.
Well, you
obviously,
should make that decision.
We still Dan usually highlights it for me, and then I usually make the end call. But usually if it showcases your personality, I think that's what really built this channel, is you being you, silly stuff like that. Like, we try to keep that in. I think that is what separates us from the other channels. But if it's something of you talking for 5 minutes and going on a tangent, and you tend to repeat yourself a lot, and that's the stuff we'll cut out. Well, trimming the fat, like I said.
Well, you take a look and you'll give your thoughts on it to see what can be cut and what can't be cut.
I'm just glad it's done. You've been wanting this for a while, so it's awesome.
Yeah. And again, I don't care what it does. I'm going to put it out, and it's going to be what it's going to be. And I think that's a thing about YouTube today, is that a lot of people worry too much about every little subtle nuance when it doesn't matter. you have an idea, go film it, put it out. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't.
You say this stuff and then we put it out and you question, like, should we change the title? What should we do? It's failing. Like, and you get like annoyed.
That's different. But yes, but of course you're still going to get annoyed, but I'm not getting annoyed about this one. Like, this is what it is. I got annoyed about the Jurassic Park one because there was nothing we could do with a sponsored video like that, even though that's one of the best videos we've shot ever and put together. There's no way to get someone to watch it because it's not clickbait. And you want to talk, that was a short video.
Yeah.
So that was like 7 or 8 minutes and it was short.
I think it was 9,
but it just, you couldn't engage people with the title. You just couldn't do it.
Just unfortunately, it all revolves around gear and clicky titles with this specific channel.
So, I mean, when that video is done, I mean, it's under no time restraints. It's whenever we get to look, you get to the notes and she's able to edit it. That's when, I mean, she got a lot of the edit done. The basics.
I do have to give her assets like the front nose photo intro, lower third, that kind of stuff, basic stuff that kind of just goes along with the entire brand of the channel in every video. But besides that, I don't think I really need to give her anything.
She asked for some assets. I got to give some assets too for some of the things for B-roll to cover up certain parts of it. But moving on, since we're talking about YouTube and talking about the struggles of YouTube, we did talk about this at the end of the year a little bit, where YouTubers are coming to the end or certain YouTubers are stopping. Like Matty Hapoya said 2024, he's not doing YouTube. He's done with YouTube.
I thought he was going to put out like one final video, but I haven't seen that, and it's now 2024, so I guess he's not going to.
He's probably going to put out a sponsored video just because it gets paid. But
probably.
I say that because I sent you a video the other day that showed up that a guy who's been doing it for 10 years, who has 6 million subscribers, was calling it quits after 10 years. What's his name?
Tom Scott. That's his name.
Yeah, and it's not a guy that I've ever watched. It just showed up in my feed, probably because it has like 7 million views on his This Is the End video. Legitimately. And his reasoning was, look, I've been doing this for 10 years and I said that I would be doing it I would stop in 10 years and I don't want to hire people and it's taking up my entire life to do all of this. And
does he have no employees? Because the production value is pretty insane. I assumed he had people.
I mean, he said that in the video, right? That he didn't want to hire people.
I didn't know if he meant more people. I mean,
he said he could grow it and he could have more employees. I mean, look at Mark Rober, right? He's a guy who has tons of employees and has tons of businesses.
Sure.
And a lot of it depends on what you really want to do as a creator. Like, I think giving yourself the freedom to have a couple of employees that can take away a lot of the stress off of your plate so that you can focus on the things you want to do, like me doing this bowling show that I'm going to talk about in a minute, that is definitely helpful. Because when you have to do, I remember I asked a question of a CEO guy once, and I probably already knew the answer, but it was like, when do you know it's time to hire an employee? He's like, well, when 80% of your time is taken up by the shit that you shouldn't be doing, you need to get other people to do that, and that frees you up to do the shit that you should be doing.
Taking the production away in terms of the actual shooting and editing, I think really opens up and frees the person that owns the channel's time. Majority of the time is spent in the editing process, and that will totally burn people out.
Right. And then another guy that I saw is the 8-bit guy. I like to follow the 8-bit guy. I'm not into the computers or like, I'm into watching the restorations that the guy does. I like following his stories. I think they're fine, and I skip past them. But he was making a video that he's getting a new job because he saw the writing on the wall for the last 4 years that his YouTube revenue was down and his Patreon revenue is down 50%. But he's like, I used to put out 40 videos, and then 20, and the last 2 years it was only 16. I'm like, well, of course your revenue is going to be down. And I'll say I think our revenue was down this year too. But I think part of that is we did do slightly less videos at certain points when there wasn't a lot of content to put out, and the revenue for YouTube might have been down. I think we did $91,000 or $92,000 take home in YouTube advertising. YouTube took their cut of 45%, which means we did over $120,000 or $130,000 in full revenue when it comes to ads, but your take home was 91 or 92. Now, I think when we did the I made $1 million on YouTube something video, I think that year was like 120-some thousand. I mean, a lot changes when, so if you get 1 million or 1.2 million views a month versus 1.9 or 2 million views a month, there was a month where we had a lot of 100,000 videos. And when that happens, you're making $12, $13, $14,000 in revenue from YouTube ads a month. When it's not, you're making 7, 8, or 9.
Yeah.
Or 7, 8, or 9. And that's just being blunt.
Keep in mind the CPM too. You know, if you're looking at a finance channel, they're going to have a much higher CPM, so they can put out half the amount of content,
Not
but
as
get
much,
paid
not
more.
anymore. When the crypto crash happened,
Well,
the
I'm just saying
CPM
in
crash
general,
happened.
every channel is going to have some sort of different CPM. I'm curious
like
what
Mr.
like
Beast.
kids, like Miss Rachel or Mr. Beast, what their CPM.
There's no ads on those. They're not allowed to run it. Mr. Beast can run ads, but Miss Rachel can't run ads on those videos. You're not allowed because it's a children's channel, so they're not allowed to run those regular ads.
I definitely see ads on kids' videos though, because I've seen my nieces and nephews like hit skip, like they know the skip button.
It might not be a video that is a kid's channel video. It might be a regular channel.
Well,
video.
they're in like the YouTube Kids app or whatever.
Can't tell you. I've never used it, so I'm not sure. That's weird.
Yeah,
because they shouldn't be advertised to like that.
Yeah.
The point I'm making here is whether YouTube revenue is down or not, YouTube does not make YouTube is a fraction of the revenue that we generate all year. Presets is I think Presets is our largest revenue generator of everything. We had our biggest year this year. Last year was I think we did slightly less last year than the year before, but that was because we had FroPack 3 come out that year.
Put out a new pack last year. That's why.
In 2022, we had a new pack. In 2021, we had a new pack. In 2022, we didn't. We went like 18 plus months without a new pack.
Because we released it in October.
And then we had our largest year last year. And I'd hope to do more once we get my next video guide out. You know, that's where you generate the revenue. So when you listen to the 8-Bit guy and he's talking about starting another job because he saw the writing on the wall, if you don't have alternate sources of revenue coming in from your YouTube channel, and I'm not talking about digital begging is what I call it when it comes to Patreon, then there's you're not business savvy or whatever. Or some channels aren't just meant to make money.
Also, a lot of channels will mix in sponsored dedicated content. That makes up a nice chunk. I'm sure they're getting more money out of that than their end of the year ad revenue.
Well, he said that he didn't want to ever get into that, and for various reasons. And I'm like, but why? Like MKBHD he gets a ton of views. He got 16 million subscribers. He's getting 30 to 50 million views a month. And occasionally, I remember when he did like a Buick sponsored tech video. But I found the video to be done extremely well because he showcased all of the different tech in this Buick that I would never purchase. Like,
Sure.
That's not the car I want. But it's like it has a heads-up display that pops up. I was like, that's pretty cool. Like, he showed and he featured the tech. He did a product showcase. And I'm like, get that money. If that gets him paid $100,000 or $50,000 or it's probably $100,000 on his channel to do that because it's going to get 1 million views all day. Then you got a guy like Linus Tech Tips. Every video has 2 plugs.
Even Peter has a lot of plugs in almost every video now. Casey, the only time he does videos these days are when he has to do a dedicated sponsored video.
Yeah, Casey. Peter McKinnon is what you mean when you say Peter. So yeah, Peter does a lot of plugs in his videos. We don't do as many. We've turned down a bunch that just didn't fit.
We try to spread them out too. I think this might be the biggest year in terms of, or last year, we probably did the most ever with sponsored content.
We do a lot when it comes to Insta360. I think their product showcases lend well to our audience in terms of showcasing what a product can do.
If it makes sense, yes.
Yeah. There's one we turned down, and we had it would have been a nice, paycheck, but it just didn't make any sense to the channel. I'm like, guys, this is a waste of money. And they still wanted to spend the money, even though I came back and said no. They're like, well, we don't care. I'm like, but I do. Like, this doesn't fit, and it's honestly not a great product. It's just not there. I don't want to recommend this when there's another product I could recommend that's better.
And speaking of Insta360, we have a sponsored video from them coming out probably this weekend, if I had to guess, or next week.
Oh, yeah. When is that coming out? Did they approve it? Or are we waiting for them to approve it?
We're still waiting on approval, and this is a little behind-the-scenes process of what goes on with sponsored content. We have to basically send it in for review. They have to give some feedback, and then we have to send it in again, and then they have to do a final approval, and then we can finally upload it.
They're saying if we get something wrong in terms of a technical spec, that's something. The only feedback they had for us was, so Steven even sends them a lower res file to look at. And when they saw the lower res file, they might have seen a clip or two that they thought might have been not sharp, but it was sharp in the full res. And that's it. They never have.
And they thought
such
one of the shots
job.
had like a fingerprint smudge on it, but it was just because of the low res export. It was a low res 1080p export, so I really had to compress it just so it's quick and easy to download for them. But this time around, when they came back with those changes, I sent them a full res 4K export just so they can see that it's not there, like in the full res uncompressed export. It looks fine.
I mean, we could upload it to a different place and put it up full res in the future. So,
I mean, I think
so
what
they
we
don't have
should
to
do is
download it.
make it unlisted or something and just do a separate video and show them that video.
I'm not doing it on YouTube. I can put it on Vimeo. Like, I can put it.
I think there's
in
a lot of
different
people
place.
that do the unlisted thing, though. You know,
I'm not doing it.
I don't think it really affects.
I'm not doing it. I'm just not fucking with the channel. I don't know, man. In the past, it did one thing. I remember back in the day that my YouTube creator partner said that as soon as you hit unlisted, it starts the 24-hour clock.
It's public.
Of promotion.
Yeah.
Right. It's basically public, so you're losing out. But Peter always did it unlisted because he and I talked about that
That's
because he
kind
would
of
show
who I'm
it to
referring
people.
to, yeah.
But I don't know. I don't want to get into that. I don't want to risk those types of things.
Yeah.
On the tone of YouTube channels stopping because people complain that they can't make it on YouTube, there's the converse of that. There's a YouTube channel that started a little over a year ago in the photosphere. This guy, Simon D'Entremont. He's a French Canadian, I believe. And I found it one day, and he's doing a lot of tutorials and education with photography that gets 100 or 200,000 views in the first week. And I sit there and I go, what the fuck are we doing wrong? Right? Like, you try to make education videos and they fucking fail. And then this guy comes along a year ago and you're like, every fucking video is doing 200,000 views in its education. And it's valuable. It's good. I actually have a call with him later because we're going to have a conversation about it.
Nice.
Cause I left a comment on his channel. Actually left he did a sponsored video for Topaz AI, which I keep seeing 1 billion ads for and 1 billion sponsored videos, and I'm not a fan of the AI software. And then someone under the video wrote a comment that, this guy is a hack. And I commented back, I'm like, this guy's far from a hack. I go, he's giving valuable resource and valuable pieces of content to people who want it. And he's doing a good job. And then he sent me a message back because I wanted to put the positive reinforcement out there.
Nice.
And I just want to talk to him because the thing is, I still come back to the fact that he's in Canada, and I still come to the fact that Peter's in Canada. Matty Hapoya was in Canada.
Linus Tech Tips.
Linus Tech Tips Canada. I feel that, and then PewDiePie was in a foreign country, that there's more competition in the United States. And when you're in a different country where there's less YouTubers and less competition, there's the ability for the algorithm in Canada, because I'm assuming that there's slightly different tweaks in each country to promote videos that are native to there higher. And then when a video does better in the native country, it's going to be like, well, if this is ranking number 6 in the country for top videos, then we better show this to the rest of the world too. And I think that has something to do with it, that being able to break out because there's not as much competition. And so the Simon D'Entremont videos, if you've seen them, they're pretty good. He scripts them and he reads his scripts, but it's thought out and it's done well. And so
I am all about scripted content. It's clear, concise. It's to the point. You're not repeating yourself. Like Gerald Undone, almost every video I think is scripted for him.
Yeah, he writes a script for every one of them.
Yeah.
He just covers tech. Yeah, and I guess Linus does that too. And we do it when it comes to what we call the scripted video set. Like, they're good because we can come up with a cool title and we can create it.
You're really good without a script. That's the other issue. I think most people are bad without a script. Obviously, you have your highlighted notes that we always joke about.
Well, and do you know what that leads to, Stephen?
What?
That it leads to me being the employee of the year every year, because I can totally go through each section by myself and be like, I can pull the video through.
Well, and that's the nice thing is, like, me and you will work on the notes together and kind of make sure we're both on the same page. So if you forget something or miss something, I can kind of interject and be like, hey, we got to talk about this, or vice versa. You tend to bring stuff up on your own too that I might have forgotten about. It really works out well when we're making a video together.
Well, the thing is, I can think back to my highlighted piece of paper and my brain can visualize. I don't know if it is a photographic memory.
I was just going to say,
like,
a
I don't know
photographic memory.
like, I don't know how you know if you have one, but I remember the other day I was on a business call and I had to recall the schedule for the upcoming bowling show. And then I was like, I remember seeing it on the website. It starts at 10 and then the other one starts at 6. And I'm like, I just pulled it because I could see it in my head.
And I will say, your memory is super solid. But if I'm having a conversation with you, there's plenty of things that go in one ear out the other.
Or it never gets into the ear because it was clogged.
You have to visually almost see it on paper or on a screen or something for you to really get it stuck in your memory. Where when I'm talking to you, there's plenty of things that like you just aren't listening to.
Well, I remember going back to school, back in the day, back in school era, where, remember, right before the test, I would have my book open, and then as soon as a piece of paper came to me, and I've said this before, I would do trigger words at the top that I visually remembered.
Same thing, dude. Same exact thing.
You know,
I wasn't the one that
cheating.
studied for weeks beforehand. I was the one that studied the night before or the day of, and that would make me ace a test.
Yeah, well, I did have a teacher call me out, and she was, or they, I don't remember if it was a man or a woman, but was like, you're cheating. I'm like, how is it cheating to write trigger words at the top of the paper? My book isn't open. I'm writing down things on top that might be on the test. Like, if I write down 1852, there's a reason I wrote down 1852, because that's going to trigger all of the shit that I read about 1852, and I'm going to remember it.
Yep.
Or if there's a reason I write the capital of something, because it's shit that I kind of forget. Or I come up with acronyms. I used to come up with acronyms for shit so that I could remember them when I did a test.
Whatever works best. You know, everyone's different.
And fuck school. Fuck tests.
Education
and fuck that
sucks.
teacher.
Meanwhile,
Fucking
if you want to
bullshit.
learn how to shoot low light photos, check out our guide.
Yeah, I'm going to be coming out with a guide for that, but it's visual. I do it the way that I want to learn. So
Visual learning, yeah, I'm a big visual learner myself.
So let's talk about some of this. Let's talk about CES real fast. CES is coming next week. There might be some new gear. It used to be a really big show. I mean, still a big show, but I don't think it's as big as it once was for consumers. I think it's even though it's called the Consumer Electronics Show, it's become more of a business to business show where people go to do business and to see the latest and greatest. Now, I don't know if we're going to see anything new in the camera sphere, in the camera world. We might see some small announcements, but it also, Stephen and I were discussing this, brought up a question with, the R1 is not out and the A9 II is not out, and the price of an A9 III being $6,500.
A1 II? Is that what you were saying?
A1 II. What did I say?
A9 II.
Yeah, A1 II. How much is the A9 III? Is that $6,400?
It's 6,000. Yeah.
Okay,
it's 6,000. A little below the A1.
All right, so it's 6,000, which begs the question: when an R1 comes out and an A1 II comes out, how do you not have it be at least $1,000 more than the camera that's supposedly lower? Though I don't suspect that the A1 II will have a global shutter, and I don't suspect that the R1 will have a global shutter. So it's like, will one of these cameras break a $7,000 price point?
Who will be the first $7,000 flagship? Because this got brought up.
Can I chime in there, Stephen?
Sure.
I want to reiterate that. Which will be the first $7,000 flagship in the modern era? You go back 25 years, you're at $20,000 for a basic DSLR.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I'm talking more mirrorless world, today's technology, blah, blah, blah. But it's been a long time since we've seen anything push past 6,500. I mean, probably.
It's been a while.
$6,000 was really usually or 5,500 even was the flagship price when it was a DSLR.
$4,600 when I was getting D2Xs.
Do you remember when we got briefed for the 1DX Mark II and they initially told us it was like $5,000 or even less?
$5,200.
Yeah.
And I think it was less. No. I think it was $40-some hundred.
I think it was below $5,000, and me and you were like, "What?" And then they switched it last minute.
We weren't allowed to talk about this at the time.
Yeah.
We weren't allowed to talk about this at the time, and unfortunately, the guy that told us this passed away. That worked for Canon. But no, there was a time when the 1DX Mark II, they showed it to us backstage hidden, and they're like $4,200 because I think it came out at like $5,000. Or $5,500.
55, which was always the standard for Canon flagships.
It may have been like $1,000 less. We're like, really? Like, that's going to be insane.
You're going to break the market.
Then they contacted us and they're like, yeah, that's not going to be the price. They changed it.
Way
so
off.
don't announce it.
Yeah.
And we're like, damn it, we're supposed to. I'm like, but.
We were briefed really early for that one. I feel like it was like 2 months before because it was behind backstage at one of the shows, like CES or something. It might have been CES.
It may have been CES backstage.
Because we used to go to CES. Did we go a few years in a row?
we went a couple years. Then I spoke at an event, and then we went to the AVNs, as I bring up all the time.
The unreleased footage that one day might see the light of day. I don't know.
In Patreon, in our OnlyFans, we'll show you the behind-the-scenes footage of Steven's favorite porn star, Riley Reid.
What? Huh? What are you talking about?
I'm like, who is this person? I don't know who Riley Reid is. And you're like, she's big on the internet.
And there was a giant line of creepy guys waiting to meet her.
Hey,
Dude,
know
there was
I got
more
recognized.
photographers there than CES. More people with cameras.
More people coming up to us being like, Fro, hey, it's great to see
Well,
you.
they were literally GWCs, though, guys with cameras. I mean,
they just wanted pictures of hot chicks.
Pictures, yeah, creepy.
So, yeah, I mean, obviously we'll update you when stuff is happening with CES on Photo News Fix and RAWtalk if anything big does happen.
But back to the conversation about the $7,000 flagship, the reason that conversation started was because you were saying the R3 was $4,000 refurbed or something like that?
I saw it, yeah. There was a refurb that Canon put out and it was $39.99. I highly recommend you guys get either notifications from the refurb store for Canon, or if you get, just bookmark it and check, because if you can get refurb glass, RF glass from Canon, like a 28-70, instead of being 3,000, they had it for 2,000 refurbed.
Yeah.
Like,
and even sign up for email alerts. I think Nikon, I'm on their list, so there's always really good deals and bundle packs and stuff like that where you can really save a lot of money, especially obviously during the holidays.
I really think Canon is one of the only that does the refurbs. I remember at Allen's Camera when I either worked there. Yeah, I think I was working there. And Canon did the thing where they would offer refurbished bodies and lenses. They would come in a white box. They'd come with a 90-day warranty. And Alan's like, should I get this? I'm like, Alan, you should buy every single refurbed item that you can get.
Yeah.
Because it's basically like new. Basically,
certified pre-owned,
right? But people can save so much money. The amount of money they would save, and there was good profit margin in that stuff as well. And so, I looked back at some of the lenses when I just traded stuff into Brandon at Allen's Camera. I looked back at some of the lenses I bought used. I'm like, I bought this lens used, but it was a 105-28 VR. I'm like, holy shit, I saved so much money when I bought this. So check out the refurb stores, especially from Canon, because amazing deals are to be had on glass. Good glass is good glass is good glass. Seriously.
And I've always said it about Lens Authority, which is Lens Rental's website where they sell all of their used gear. I really like using them for used gear because they clean everything off and they do it the right way because they're actual technicians. They're not just some third party selling gear. So yeah, that's another good place to look.
Okay, so moving on, let's talk about the production of the bowling show. I haven't gone into detail about this at all. It's been over 2 years in the process. We didn't have the rights up front. Someone else did. Through hard work and sticking around and showing up, literally just showing up at these events and doing my thing and befriending these bowlers and working with the people that make the decisions, paid off. And we are starting production today. Like, I mean, we started pre-production stuff,
sure,
but filming is starting today, and it just so happens to be starting in Australia, where you have to, not easy to find a crew in Australia right now.
So you mean tomorrow? Aren't they a day ahead?
Yeah, well, yeah, so technically they started
yesterday.
No, they're starting tomorrow. It's 16 hours different where they are. So it's already the morning there, and they're getting ready to I have like an 8 o'clock Zoom call to watch, right? To have audio and to hear what's going on, to give some production, because I'm an executive producer, which means that I help with ideas and I help with connections, and it's just basically it's doing the shit that you do. It's having the stuff that I do here and that Steven does, except that there's 5 or 6 people and everybody has a different task and we work together and like
very
I'm in charge
specific tasks. Yes,
right. But the thing is, we're filming in Australia because we have to get Jason Belmonte before he leaves for the United States for a bunch of months to start the tournament. If you don't know who Belmo is, look up Jason Belmonte on YouTube. See that he is a two-handed bowler, and he changed the game. He changed the game forever by being a powerful two-handed bowler that became one of the most winningest, if not the winningest and best bowler in the history of bowling in his generation.
Would you consider him like the Michael Jordan of bowling? The GOAT?
At that point,
okay.
Yes. The amount of wins and just the fear that he struck in people's
just from
eyes.
a clear stats standpoint.
From a stats point, yes. Now, here's how you can think about the show. You've all seen Hard Knocks, most likely. You've seen F1. You've seen Full Swing, the match point for tennis. This is the bowling version of it.
How about Kingpin?
It may be a little bit.
Or
it may be a little
or the
bit.
Big Lebowski?
There might be parts of that, but the point of these shows is always story driven. It's about the people. It's not always about the golf, the F1, the bowling, but it's the human stories, and they so happen to be the bowlers.
The behind the scenes.
It's my photo stories, but the moving pictures of it.
What you don't normally see, and that is
it's
what matters.
It's going to the players' homes. It's going and working with them as they practice. It's being behind the scenes as they're waiting to go on because they're the number one seed in a tournament, and they're waiting off to the side on practice lanes in the dark, which I have photos of in the past. They're waiting and watching the show, seeing who they're going to end up playing, and it's what's going on. Listening to them talk to their ball reps and talking about what their strategies are. It's the shit you don't get to see. And
just some of the relationships, too, that they have together, like Brad and Kyle, who are pretty much best friends in real life, but at the same time, they're also competitive.
Right. And so it's building up the stories and giving light to these professional athletes in bowling, which the prize money is far less. Like you talk about Brad, the kid pulled in $1,800 earnings last year.
Oh man,
he did like 50 the year before, but the top bowlers are pulling in 300, 400, 200, anywhere between 180 and maybe 500,000 if they're winning tournaments.
It's brutal just to push through. I mean, do a lot of these bowlers have like a quote unquote real job, or is bowling everything?
They have sponsors. A lot of them is they have sponsors. They have people that put up money, and so that if they win, they pay back their sponsor money and then keep the rest. They put the sponsorship on their shirts and stuff. I mean, bowling is a tough road to hoe.
It is.
It really is. And the show isn't about how hard it is to, that it's a hard road and there's not a lot of money, because there can be a nice amount of money when you're winning. But we needed to get, and this came up last minute, Belmo is leaving for the United States on the 7th. In his time, Australia, leaving the 7th. We got some funding to do an extended sizzle while we build this, to then get that to be shopped around to the bigger companies. We have a really well-known company that has interest in this right now, that has put up some money. I'm not going to say what the company is right now, but they've put up some of the funding for us to get the things started that we need to get started, so that they can go out and shop it to the big things. Let's just say they win every Oscar. Every year there's Oscars that they win for productions that they've worked on, that they've helped.
Most people would recognize the name if they heard it.
You will when I'm able to, when I do talk
that
about
information.
It.
Yeah.
But so what's happening now is we couldn't go to Australia, one, because the insane thing is when you have the budget number, you know how much money you can spend. And so we have certain people that know how the budgets work, and they're showrunners, and they've done this in the past. And so they know what each dollar needs to be spent on. Where can some be taken from to be used for something else? One thing is, you're not going to send Steven and I over to Australia for a one-day shoot. That's just, the expense is just astronomical. Now, I think it would be great to be able to do that stuff, but there are film crews that our teams have worked with in Australia. And so what you do is you have calls with them, and you put together an entire deck for them to go over the important information, like what style are we looking to shoot, showing different framings and different examples of what we like and what we want, and you have a producer on the ground there.
I found that very interesting, by the way. You kind of sent me a screenshot of one of the decks where it showed like an interview style setup and what they wanted. Did you want more of a invasive, almost fisheye look, like full frame, where the subject's real big and present in the frame, almost like hero shot? Or do you want something more subtle, where there's some nice background blur and they're more of a serious look?
And these are all decisions that need to be made.
And I find that interesting because for me, like, it all depends the location of the interview too. Like, what if there's something in the background that you want to kind of have in the frame too, and you want to clean it up? And it's hard to know how you're going to shoot it until you're there.
And it's tough when we're here.
Exactly.
And we will zoom in and watch via Zoom, probably with a laptop, and give some feedback. It sucks because I like to be there. I have a great rapport with the players, and that's why I'm able to reach out and talk to them candidly and get the things we need to get out of them. But this isn't possible. This had to come together quick in Australia, and I think multiple teams weren't available because it's their holiday right now. They really take off. This is their summer break, and there's not a lot of people around, but we did find a good crew, and they'll go out there. They'll do the setup. They'll do the audio. They'll do the lighting. They'll do what they need to do. We have a whole lineup of questions, what we're looking for. And so we'll do the sit down interviews there. We'll do the walk and talk. We'll do the slow motion. So there's a whole thing. It's like outside shots of the building. We need this. If there's pictures on the wall, we need footage of that. If there's it's all pre-production. It's basic shit.
When you sent me the deck, you're like, man, you would love this.
Stephen would.
My OCD would fall in love with all of this whole process.
Well, because our process is not that.
Our
Stephen
process
is
is next video, no pre-production, just get it done. Or no,
Well, we
my favorite is when
do
you're like,
pre-production.
just do it.
Yeah, just
figure it out.
like I get it, but I'm definitely a big part of this series.
Nice.
And at some point I do want to do, if we do get picked up, I would like to propose a extra episode of what goes on behind the scenes of the behind the scenes. So behind the scenes of the behind the scenes, the shooters, the audio, the video, the editing, the production meetings. Even if you're not into that stuff, you would find it interesting watching.
Well, I always like the quick interviews with the director or the actor or whatever it may be at the end of a episode, where they kind of recap the episode and how they were feeling and what the storyline was, whatever it may be. I always enjoy those quick little tidbits at the end of an episode, and I think that would be pretty cool. Or an entire bonus episode, like you're saying.
So to play into that thing that I never like to say, big things coming and big news being announced soon.
Let's bookend this episode.
Well, I sat on this for over 2 years without really talking about it because I didn't want to be like, something's happening, something's coming, because it's ups and downs.
Didn't know what was going to happen. Yeah.
No, sometimes you're in and sometimes you're out.
Yep. Sometimes
you get good news and sometimes you get not good news.
There was a moment where you definitely thought you were out the entire
absolutely.
production.
Well, yeah. I mean, that there were so many times where that stuff happened where it's like, oh, well, they have exclusive deals with someone else. And you're like, but we didn't give up. We stuck it out. I stuck around and I kept working at it. And it, as of now, it's knock on wood, it's starting to pay off. But the next step, we have to create the stuff, and then it has to get shopped, and then it has to get bought, and then you have to really go to production. I mean,
it's still a gamble at the end of the day. Yeah.
I'm going to Wichita, Kansas next week for the first bowling tournament of the year. I'll be going to other stuff. Anything in the United States I'll probably fly to and be a part of on production. I'll probably do some B-roll shooting just to supplement because I understand angles and stuff. So I'm fully capable of doing that.
You're going to shoot log, aren't you?
Well, you'll have to show me what to do. But yeah, I can figure anything out. I can point a camera and I know how to do what I need to do to get good stuff.
I'm curious if they want like 4K 60 for B-roll or 4K 24. 120 is a little too slow in my opinion for stuff like that.
Well, we'll be shooting 4K 24 for certain things, and then I have to see, is it 4K 60 or do I flip into 4K 120? Will they accept?
The issue with 4K 120 on a Canon camera is it doesn't record audio.
It doesn't record audio, correct.
Yeah.
On these.
Not that they would probably use your scratch audio anyway, but you never know.
No, but I could always get like a Zoom and just have microphone recording audio at all time and just point a microphone somewhere.
Doesn't mean it'll sound good though if you're far away.
No, not at all. But that's filling you in on this project. I mean, that's where a lot of my time is going to be spent this year. I do have the time. Like, that's the thing, is I have it, and it's just a matter of coordinating with Steven and Dan on if I'm home for 2 days or I'm leaving for the Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, that we film on Monday, Tuesday.
Yep.
And I can do a podcast from the road.
And that's what I love about this kind of stuff is you have the time, and me and Dan, as long as, like you said, we coordinate and figure it out and schedule it right, then we'll be able to film, edit, and still keep everything churning on our end while you're out there doing your thing.
Yep.
How many days are you out there for?
Well, I'm leaving on Thursday.
Are you out there all weekend or what?
Well, it's Thursday. Am I leaving Thursday or Wednesday?
So that means already we'll have to record the podcast a day early. Typically, we record Thursday mornings.
Yeah, so I'm leaving Thursday, flying through DFW to get to Wichita because there's no direct. So Thursday is when is the main part of the tournament. Actually, it's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and then Saturday they bowl. But Sunday they're taking off because it's it's playoffs football, so they're taking off because no one would watch bowling.
Oh, that's
and then
funny.
they wait all day till 6 o'clock on Monday. I'm flying home Saturday. The only way I'm going to stay longer and suffer through that Sunday is if one of the main bowlers that we're focusing on early is going to have a chance to win.
Sure.
Then I'll stick around and like we may even send a small film crew, but it's trying to find someone. And by small, you send a one-man band who's capable of shooting some B-roll and A-roll and go from there.
So will you be doing photos as well, or strictly video?
It's like, you know, the normal bowling tournament photos are boring and shit anyway, so they're not worth it. But I feel, for me, I think if there's celebration to be had or people are walking onto the set, I should probably film the video right now because it's more important for the end result than anything, if no one else is there.
Makes sense. Yeah, I think it's more beneficial for you guys to do video instead of photos, for sure.
The moral of the story is there's so many moving parts to putting something like this. It literally started with me going to the bowling years ago and having an idea, bringing in someone else I knew who has done shows for other channels.
The hard part, too, is trying to make a story out of it after the fact. You know, you're making something out of nothing. I think of the Bernie documentary where it was...
But no, we have ideas. We have storylines.
Sure, but you still have to hope that that story gets made. You know, that storyline follows the story and plays out. And yeah.
But a lot of this is reality. It's all reality. So you have to figure out...
Yeah,
I think how do you make the right story?
What we did with the Bernie documentary, you know, running around literally one-man band trying to do everything, and you don't know what's going to happen or what's going to come out of it. Especially that was tough because there was no audio. Like we couldn't record behind-the-scenes interviews or any of that, and we still tried to make a story out of it. But the story was about you covering a presidential candidate on a campaign trail.
Exactly. So this may be a recurring thing that I discuss and let you guys in on the behind the scenes. There's so many moving pieces.
The whole point of this podcast, man, behind the scenes of Frono's Photo.
Yep. The production stuff is crazy. So what I was saying is it started with me. I brought in another person who I pitched the idea to. They liked it. We funded a little bit to do a sizzle reel, which then we were told they already have an exclusive with someone else. But then I met someone randomly out shooting and they wanted to see what I was working on. I showed them this. They're like, we want to show it to this other company who's done some big shit. The people that did that were like, this is awesome. We want to be a part of it. What do we need to do? And that was like a year and a half in the works.
It really is about who you know. It really does help knowing the right people to make things happen.
You just got to put yourself out there to meet. I mean, I will tell you, the one person that I met, I met in in the suburbs, you know, I was testing out new lenses at a park, at a playground with my niece and nephew. This other guy so happened to be there hanging out with his kids or someone else's kids because he was visiting, and he sees me shooting and he comes over and he goes, "Hey, what are you doing?" I'm like, or what are you testing? Or what are you shooting? I told him what I was shooting. I told him what. He's like, "What do you do?" I'm like, "I make YouTube videos." He's like, What do you do?" He's like, "The Last Dance." And I was like, "Oh, you know." Well, I stayed in touch with him right away because the first thing he said is, well, not the first thing, but one of the things he's like, "So what are you working on? I love hearing what's happening. What are you working on?" And I told him. He's like, "Can I see it?" And I was like, "Sure." And I sent it to him.
You are really good with networking, for sure.
So, all right, let's wrap this up. We got things to do.
Big things coming, man. Big things coming.
Huge. This is RAWtalk 83, guys. First one of the year. Thank you guys very much for listening. 313, you could send us text, 313-710-9729. Anything else to add, Steven?
That's it.
All right, guys. Thank you very much for listening. Jared Polin, FronosPhoto.com. See ya.
Bye.